let me just thank everyone for coming out tonight. I know that there are many people in the room that are from the recovery community, thank you. But most importantly, I want to thank the Quincy residents that are here tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to what the panel is going to talk about. There's going to be some questions and answers. I think that, this conversation of Long Island Bridge in the beginning of 2 years ago, the intention was not to, when we had to close Allen down, the intention was not to have you put up with a lot of nonsense that you're concerned about. I went to Long Island for about 10 years doing a commitment on Long Island. Long Island, as many of you in this room know, and the Quincy folks, what was out there many years ago was a whole bunch of recovery services. We had a homeless facility out there. We had a reentry program out there. We had halfway houses out there. We had detoxes out there. And I went out to the detox every other Sunday to put on a commitment. In 2014, when I got elected mayor, in August of 2014, I went out to the island to take a tour of Camp Harborview. It was out there, as you know. When I went out there, there were some transportation workers on the bridge, and they were working on the bridge, and the stanchion joints were coming apart. It was the middle of summer. And the engineer who worked on that project was here tonight, Perry Ginseng, and I stopped the car and I got out and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "The bridge is in very bad shape. It's been patched up for years and decades of patchwork, and it's in pretty bad shape. We're not really sure how much more we can get out of the bridge, but we need to try and see what we can do here." So we started to think about how do we fix the bridge, not the programs on the island, fix the bridge. In October of 2014, Michael Dennehy, then was my Public Works Commissioner. He came into me, I think it was a Wednesday, and he said, "Long Island Bridge needs to be shut down." I said, "When?" He goes, "Now." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It's collapsing. We can't put anyone else on the island. We can't take anyone off the island." And immediately at that moment, we put notification out to shut the bridge down. I took a lot of heat that day because a lot of people felt that we should have evacuated the island, and we didn't evacuate the island because we were quite honestly concerned about the bridge and what was going to happen with the bridge. The last thing I wanted to do was have a busload of people going across the island, either coming or going, and having the bridge collapse into the Atlantic Ocean. We shut the bridge down. We moved the programs out. We set up an emergency homeless facility in the south end of Boston. We set up makeshift detox in certain places. Some programs, quite honestly, were out of business for a couple of years. One thing that we thought about when we did with the bridge, for me personally, I thought about immediately we were going to rebuild the bridge, but I started to think about what kind of services should be on the island. Because for years, we had homeless programs on the island, and basically what we were doing in Boston was housing homeless people, meaning we were putting them on buses, bringing them out to the island, and then every day they'd either get dropped off at North Quincy Station, and then people would complain about that, then we'd drop them off at JFK UMass, and people complain about that, then we'd drop them off in town. This is before I was the mayor, and we literally would find different places in Boston to put people when they came off down. That's how the operation worked for a long time. And then I became the mayor, and we started thinking about, are we delivering service for homelessness right in Boston? Are we delivering it right in the Commonwealth? So we sat down and we started talking about the way we deliver our homeless programs, and we realized that we're doing it wrong. We were just housing homeless people in a shelter, and we weren't creating opportunities for people to get onto the pathways back into solid footing. So since that time to today, we've housed in Boston 1,600 chronically homeless people. We've taken 4,500 years of homelessness off the street, and we have a system in place for homelessness. Now, those homeless folks that are on our street, most of them aren't from Boston. They come from all over the Commonwealth, they come from all over the country, but it doesn't matter. That's my job, my obligation, our obligation to take care of those folks. The second place is the reentry program that we had on the island, Wyman Reentry Center. We found a new location on River Street for them, and we realized that the service over there actually works probably better because there's better access to tea in the city, there's opportunities. So we're working on our reentry program. We have a great reentry program in the city, and then we also created what's called the Office of Returning Citizen for folks that come out of jail, and we're tying them up with jobs. So we realized that putting the reentry back on the island doesn't make sense either because it doesn't really work for people in reentry. The detox programs that were on the island, Rebound had one for juveniles, younger people, I should say, not juveniles, younger people, and Victory Programs had some, and I think Bay Cove had some, and some of the other organizations had detox programs. And we started having the conversation around detox beds, the fact that do we really have to put detox beds back on the island? Is there an opportunity, is there an infrastructure that's here now that's built up so we can take care of people with detoxes? And we also realized that detoxes aren't necessarily needed on the island. When I mean that, they're not needed on the island. So we said, okay, what's needed on the island if we're going to rebuild a bridge? And one of the things that we realize that are needed in recovery communities, and that's Boston and Quincy and Squantum and Marina Bay and Lowell Mills and all over the city and outside the city, are long-term detox beds. Long-term, recovery beds. These are halfway houses. These are licensed by the state. These are beds that somebody will go into for, usually it's a 9-month program. Some of them a 6-month program, not much shorter than 6 months. And they go up to a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. The Gavin House has one. They're doing a Mountain House in Brockton and a whole bunch of other places. And that's the campus we're talking about. We're talking about a campus situation where people go, have an addiction problem, whether it's booze or alcohol. Mine was alcohol. They go to a detox. They're looking to go to further treatment. They go from a detox to a holding. While they're in the holding, they're waiting to get a bed for a halfway house bed. And oftentimes those beds are 16 weeks, 20 weeks away, and those beds aren't there. And that's the idea of this island. This isn't about to be an inconvenience to Squantum or Quincy. This isn't about me not liking Quincy. I have 2 aunts that when they came from Ireland to America, one lived in Wollaston and one lived in West Quincy. I have family in Quincy. I regard Quincy as an extension of Boston. As a state representative, I've represented Ward 3, Precinct 3, Montclair, in the legislature. My friends are the elected officials in Quincy. And this isn't about being against Quincy, to the residents that are here from Quincy. But you do have concerns. And you do have situations that you want to talk about, and you should talk about them. Because right now it's nice and quiet in front of your house. I understand that. With the bridge shut down, you're not having buses go by and other things go by. But our job is we're not doing this to inconvenience you. What we're doing is to try and create opportunities for people. And that's why we're here tonight. And I apologize that we're having the meeting here in Dorchester. The meeting belongs in Quincy, but we couldn't find a location in Quincy to have it. We had it set up, it was canceled on us, and that's why we're here in Dorchester. I will come to Quincy anytime, any day, to talk about what we're doing here on Long Island. I will sit, I will take the questions, I will hear anything you have to say, I will work with you. My job as an elected official is not to get people angry at me. My job is to try and make people happy. And that includes Quincy. Even though I represent Boston, it doesn't matter to me. And you have great elected officials in Quincy and people that care. Your counselor in Quincy and Squantum cares about your neighborhood. We've talked. Your state representative in Squantum cares about your neighborhood. We've talked. Your mayor clearly cares, because we've had many conversations. And I wish they were all great, but they weren't that great, some of them. But he's a good person, and he cares. And he cares about this issue, and I know he cares about this issue. And I know Bruce Ayers cares about this issue, because I served in the House with him, and he was on the House floor with me working to make sure more money gets into programming. So we're here tonight. We're gonna do our best to make sure that the panelists that come here will be here to hear your concerns. I ask everyone in the room, this is not Boston versus Quincy. If a resident stands up and is frustrated and angry, they have a right to be. If somebody from the recovery community gets up and gives you a story, you have the right to tell your story. I ask everyone to respect each other tonight. This isn't about fighting. We shouldn't be arguing and fighting. We should be talking about, is there a possibility for us to get to a solution? And that's why I'm here tonight. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to recognize from the City of Boston, City Councilor Nisa Sabi George, who is a citywide city councilor here in Boston. She lives in Dorchester. And I would like to go into all the organizations. I don't want to go into the organizations because if I leave somebody out, I'll be in trouble. But most importantly, the people that are here from Quincy, thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate it.